In the grim darkness of the far future, where humanity clings to survival across a million worlds, there exist individuals whose very existence challenges the rigid hierarchy of imperial order. They are the rogue traders, sanctioned explorers, whose ancient warrants grant them freedoms that would be heretical in any other hands. To understand what it means to be a rogue trader is to glimpse into the soul of humanity itself, the eternal drive to explore, to conquer, to push beyond every boundary, regardless of the cost. Picture, if you will, the bridge of the starship Indomitable Prophet, a massive vessel that has sailed the void for 3 centuries in service to the Kryn dynasty. Here, surrounded by the Gothic spires and cathedral-like spaces that mark all imperial architecture, stands Lord Captain Hadrian Kryn, third of his name, holder of a warrant of trade, sealed by the Emperor's own hand 10,000 years ago. The viewports before him show not the familiar constellations of imperial space, but the alien geometries of a star system that exists on no chart, in a region where the astronomican's light has never reached. The warrant that grants him this authority is more than parchment and seal. It is a relic of unimaginable power, written in the God Emperor's own blood, and blessed by saints whose names have been lost to history. With this single document, Hadrian Kryn wields authority that rivals that of planetary governors, space marine captains, even inquisitors in their own domains. But unlike them, his domain is not a world or a sector, it is the infinite unknown, the dark spaces between stars where humanity has never set foot. The transformation from ordinary mortal to rogue trader is not merely a matter of inheritance, it is a psychological metamorphosis that reshapes the very core of one's being. Hadrian remembers the moment clearly, standing in the dynasty's memorial chamber surrounded by the death masks of 37 generations of Kryn patriarchs and matriarchs. The warrant had been placed in his hands by his dying father, its ancient parchment crackling with age, the imperial seal still warm with psychic resonance after 10 millennia. "The stars call, my son," his father had whispered with his final breath. "They have always called to our blood. Do not let the fear of death silence that calling." And in that moment, Hadrian had felt the weight of destiny settle upon his shoulders like a mantle of lead and starlight. He was no longer merely human. He had become something more dangerous, more necessary, and infinitely more alone. The daily existence of a rogue trader is a constant balance between impossible decisions and unknowable consequences. Each morning, aboard the Indomitable Prophet, begins with reports from the ship's vast network of augur arrays and astropathic choirs, analyzing data streaming in from scout vessels deployed throughout the system. Star charts must be updated, trade negotiations with newly contacted xenos species must be managed, and always, the critical decisions about which worlds to explore and which mysteries to investigate. The crew of a rogue trader vessel is a microcosm of the Imperium itself, Navy officers who serve with the professionalism born of centuries of void warfare, Adeptus Mechanicus tech priests who tend the ship's machine spirits with religious devotion, Imperial Guard regiments, ready to establish beachheads on hostile worlds, and thousands of ordinary humans who have sworn their lives to the dynasty's service. Each decision Hadrian makes ripples through this floating city of 40,000 souls, determining who will live and who will die in pursuit of knowledge and profit. Today's briefing brings news that exemplifies the constant tension at the heart of rogue trader existence. Long-range augurs have detected what appears to be an intact space hulk drifting in the system's outer reaches, a conglomeration of ancient vessels fused together by warp, storms, and time. Such discoveries represent incredible potential, archaeotech that could revolutionize imperial industry, lost STC patterns worth more than entire world's tribute, or simply vast quantities of adamantium and ceramite for the dynasty's forges. But space hulks are also notorious for harboring horrors beyond imagination, orc infestations, genestealer cults, chaos demons, or worse things that defy classification. The decision to investigate will likely cost hundreds of lives, perhaps thousands if the expedition goes badly. Yet, the potential rewards could fund the dynasty for centuries, and provide the Imperium with technologies that might tip the balance in humanity's endless wars. This is the daily torment of rogue trader existence, every choice measured not in abstract profit margins, but in the lives of loyal servants who trust their lord's judgment absolutely. Hadrian has made such decisions 10,000 times over his 70-year career, and each one has carved away another piece of his humanity. The memorial chambers of the indomitable prophet contain the names of over 200,000 crew members who have died in service to the dynasty, men and women who fell to alien weapons, void kraken, warp storms, and countless other hazards that await beyond the Imperium's borders. The psychological toll of such responsibility cannot be understated. Unlike other Imperial commanders, a rogue trader operates beyond the reach of oversight, confession, or absolution. There are no commissars to share the burden of harsh decisions, no chaplains to provide spiritual guidance, no superior officers to shoulder ultimate responsibility. The weight of command is absolute, and it shapes those who bear it in ways that baseline humanity cannot comprehend. Hadrian's hands, once soft with noble privilege, now bear the calluses of weapon use and the scars of boarding actions on alien vessels. His eyes, once bright with youthful enthusiasm for adventure, now carry the cold calculation of a man who has seen entire worlds burn for the sake of strategic advantage. The transformation is not merely physical, it goes to the very core of identity, replacing human emotion with the mathematical precision required for survival in the dark. The isolation is perhaps the cruelest aspect of the rogue trader's existence. Surrounded by thousands of loyal servants, they stand utterly alone in their authority and responsibility. Friendships become impossible when every conversation might lead to an order that sends the other person to their death. Love becomes a luxury that few can afford when the demands of the dynasty must always come first. Even family relationships are twisted by the weight of inheritance and duty. Children are raised not as beloved offspring, but as potential successors who must be prepared for the crushing burden of command. Yet for all its hardships, there are moments when the rogue trader existence achieves a terrible glory that few mortals can imagine. Standing on the bridge, as the ship translates from the warp into a virgin system, seeing stars that no human eyes have ever witnessed, knowing that you are expanding the boundaries of human knowledge and dominion, these moments justify every sacrifice, every loss, every moral compromise made along the way. The exploration of the Space Hulk proves to be one such moment. Despite the horrific casualties, 3 full companies of Imperial Guard and half a regiment of naval armsmen, the expedition uncovers a prize beyond imagining, a complete STC template for improved plasma reactor designs, technology that has been lost to the Imperium for 8,000 years. The Adeptus Mechanicus representatives aboard the ship prostrate themselves before the recovered data cores, weeping tears of sacred oil as they commune with machine spirits not seen since the dark age of technology. This discovery alone will revolutionize Imperial industry across 3 sectors, providing clean energy to forge worlds and hive cities that have struggled with primitive fusion reactors for millennia. The lives lost in its recovery, brave men and women who faced genestealer broods, and ancient automated defenses with nothing but Lazari fleas and faith will be remembered in the dynasty's memorial chambers, but their sacrifice has meaning on a galactic scale. But the true test of a rogue trader's character comes not in moments of triumph, but in the dark hours when everything hangs in the balance. For Hadrian Kryn, that moment arrives during the dynasty's most ambitious expedition, yet a deep void journey beyond the galaxy's edge. Following ancient stellar coordinates discovered in the Space Hulk's data cores, the destination is a system that should not exist, orbiting a star whose light spectrum matches no known stellar classification. What they discover there challenges every assumption about humanity's place in the universe. The system contains not 1 but 3 inhabited worlds, each bearing the unmistakable signs of human colonization but showing technological development along paths completely unknown to Imperial science. These are not lost colonies from the dark age of technology. The archaeological evidence suggests they predate humanity's first steps into space by millions of years. The implications are staggering, heretical, impossible. If these worlds are truly ancient human colonies, then everything the Imperium believes about human origins, about the Emperor's role in guiding humanity to the stars, about the very foundations of Imperial doctrine, may be lies built upon lies. The discovery could shatter the ecclesiarchy's teachings, undermine the Adeptus Terra's authority, and plunge the Imperium into civil war more devastating than the Horus heresy itself. Yet the Warrant of Trade grants Hadrian the authority to investigate, to make contact, to determine the truth, regardless of its implications for imperial stability. This is the ultimate freedom and burden of the rogue trader, to confront knowledge that could doom the very civilization they serve, armed with nothing but ancient parchment and personal conviction. The first contact with the inhabitants of the ancient worlds reveals beings that are recognizably human but evolved along radically different paths. They possess technologies that blend organic and mechanical components in ways that would horrify the Adeptus Mechanicus, practice social structures based on individual merit rather than birth or appointment, and worship no gods at all, not the Emperor, not the Chaos powers, nothing but the abstract concepts of knowledge and progress. The negotiations that follow test every skill Hadrian has developed over 7 decades of void exploration. These ancient humans are not primitive savages to be awed by imperial technology, nor are they corrupted heretics to be purged without negotiation. They are equals, perhaps even superiors in some ways, who view the Imperium with a mixture of pity and curiosity that cuts deeper than any insult. You have built a civilization of slaves, their primary ambassador tells him during one particularly challenging session. Slaves to dogma, slaves to fear, slaves to the worship of a corpse on a golden throne. Your people have forgotten what it means to be human, to grow, to reach for something greater than survival. The words strike home precisely because they echo doubts that Hadrian has carried for years but never dared voice. The moral complexity of the situation would paralyze a lesser commander, but a rogue trader learns early that paralysis is death in the void. Hadrian makes his decision with the cold calculation that has kept him alive through 7 decades of impossible choices. The ancient humans represent a resource too valuable to ignore, and a threat too dangerous to leave unchecked. Trade agreements are negotiated that will provide the Imperium with revolutionary technologies in exchange for raw materials and manufactured goods. Cultural exchanges are arranged that will allow Imperial scholars to study these alternative paths of human development. But always in the background lurks the knowledge that a single word from Hadrian could bring exterminatus fleets to cleanse these worlds, erasing evidence of humanity's alternative destiny in nuclear fire and virus bombs. The ancient humans know this as well. They negotiate from a position of strength, but never forget that their very existence depends on the continued goodwill of a man whose warrant grants him authority over their survival. The psychological transformation this experience works on Hadrian is profound and irreversible. He returns to imperial space carrying knowledge that could reshape humanity's understanding of itself, weighted with the responsibility of deciding what truths the Imperium can bear and what revelations might destroy it entirely. The naive adventurer who once inherited his father's warrant is gone forever, replaced by something harder, more calculating, infinitely more dangerous. The trading empire that grows from these contacts spans dozens of systems and generates wealth beyond the dreams of planetary governors. New technologies revolutionize imperial industry, alien allies provide intelligence about tyrannid hive fleets and chaos incursions, and the Kryn dynasty's influence grows to rival that of major space marine chapters. Yet the cost of this success is measured not just in lives lost and moral compromises made, but in the fundamental transformation of Hadrian's own humanity. He has become what the Imperium both needs and fears, a free agent whose loyalty cannot be guaranteed, whose power grows beyond any oversight, whose very existence challenges the foundations of imperial order. In the quiet moments between crises, standing alone on his bridge while his ship sails through the void between stars, Hadrian contemplates the price of his authority and wonders what he has become. The crew regards him with a mixture of loyalty, fear, and something approaching religious awe. To them he is no longer merely human but a figure of legend, a demigod whose decisions shape the fate of worlds and whose word is law across the dark spaces between stars. They tell stories of his exploits that grow more fantastical with each telling, creating a mythology that will outlive his mortal form and inspire future generations of void explorers. But legends are not human, and gods do not feel the weight of individual souls lost in pursuit of their grand designs. The price of transcending mortal limitations is the loss of mortal connections, the simple human bonds of friendship, love, and shared purpose that give life meaning beyond mere survival. Hadrian rules an empire, commands the loyalty of millions, and wields power that can reshape star systems, yet he faces each day in perfect isolation, surrounded by servants who would die for him but can never truly know him. The dynasty's legacy will span millennia. The trade routes, established by his expeditions, will carry imperial commerce to the galaxy's edge. The technologies discovered in forgotten ruins will provide humanity with weapons and tools for its endless wars. The colonies founded on worlds beyond the Astronomican's light will serve as beacons of human civilization in the galaxy's darkest corners. Future generations will speak his name with reverence and awe, counting him among the Imperium's greatest servants. Yet in the personal moments, the quiet hours of void transit, when even the ship's machine spirits seem to sleep, Hadrian often finds himself wondering if the price was worth paying. The memorial chambers hold the names of so many loyal servants, each death authorized by his command, each sacrifice made in service to goals they could never fully understand. The moral compromises necessary for dealing with xenos species and heretical technologies have carved away pieces of his soul like acid eating through adamantium. The question that haunts every rogue trader in their darkest moments is fundamental. Are we explorers serving humanity's expansion, or predators feeding our own ambition with the blood of those who trust us? The answer, perhaps, lies in the space between those extremes, in the recognition that exploration and exploitation, discovery and destruction, are often indistinguishable from each other in practice. Imperial theorists debate the wisdom of granting such power to individual dynasties. The Adeptus Terra maintains careful records of rogue trader activities, while inquisitors monitor their communications for signs of corruption or heresy. The Space Marine chapters regard them with professional respect. Tempered by suspicion, they appreciate the intelligence and resources that rogue traders provide, but remain wary of commanders, whose loyalty is guaranteed only by ancient documents rather than indoctrination and faith. The ecclesiarchy's position is particularly complex, as rogue traders regularly engage in practices that would be heretical for any other imperial citizens, trading with xenos species, studying alien technologies, establishing colonies beyond the emperor's direct influence. Yet their warrants explicitly authorize such activities in service to the greater goal of human expansion, creating a theological paradox that keeps church scholars busy with elaborate justifications and exceptions. Common imperial citizens know rogue traders primarily through legend and rumor, tales of merchant princes who sail ships larger than cities, who command the loyalty of entire armies, who discover worlds made of pure adamantium and fight space monsters with weapons that split atoms. The reality, as is so often the case, is both more mundane and more terrifying than the myths suggest. For in the end, the rogue trader represents humanity's fundamental nature distilled to its purest essence, the drive to explore, to expand, to push beyond every boundary regardless of the cost. They are both humanity's greatest strength and its most dangerous weakness, embodying the species' refusal to accept limits, even when those limits might ensure survival. Standing on his bridge in the deep void between galaxies, Lord Captain Hadrian Kryn contemplates the stars that beckon from the darkness ahead. Each point of light represents potential new worlds to claim, new species to contact, new technologies to discover, new threats to face. The warrant in his pocket grants him the authority to investigate them all, to risk everything in pursuit of knowledge and profit that may benefit an Imperium he will likely never see again. This is the ultimate paradox of the rogue trader's existence: to serve humanity by leaving it behind, to strengthen the Imperium by operating beyond its reach, to preserve civilization by embracing the savage chaos of the unknown. They are explorers and conquerors, merchants and warriors, servants and sovereigns, bound by duty to an institution they are uniquely free to ignore. The void calls, as it has always called to those with the courage to answer. In that calling lies both humanity's greatest hope for expansion and its potential doom, for the darkness between stars holds wonders and horrors in equal measure, and only those willing to sacrifice their own humanity can hope to claim them for the species they serve. To be a rogue trader is to embody this contradiction, to accept the burden of absolute freedom in service to absolute duty, to stand alone at the edge of the known universe with nothing but ancient parchment and personal conviction as guides. It is a life that demands everything and promises nothing except the opportunity to push humanity's boundaries ever outward, regardless of the cost in blood, souls, and moral certainty. In the grim darkness of the far future, they are humanity's cutting edge, sharp, necessary, and forever stained with the price. of their service. They explore so that humanity may expand, conquer so that civilization may grow, and sacrifice so that future generations might inherit a galaxy where human dominion reaches from core to rim. The stars await, infinite and eternal, holding secrets that will reshape the galaxy and horrors that will test the limits of human courage. For those bold enough to claim a warrant of trade and brave enough to sail beyond the Emperor's light, there is no greater calling and no heavier burden. They are the rogue traders, humanity's ambassadors to the unknown, and the price they pay for that privilege is nothing less than their own souls.